Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Staying Connected. I'm Steve Zyskowski, the Chief Referral Officer at CaerUSnet, and I have with me a really special guest today. I'm really excited and honored to introduce Rob Heath from Heath Farms. Rob is kind of a niche in terms of CaerUSnet. In CaerUSnet, a lot of groups have similar types of professions in them. So, every group's going to have somebody that does insurance and is going to have somebody that does lending and the stuff that we think of day in and day out. And then after the groups get to about 20 members or so, all of a sudden the teams start getting some nichier categories of business, right? So we've added the chiropractor, we've added the fitness trainer, and then all of a sudden a chicken farmer comes along. So Rob, congratulations. You are the very first chicken farmer that has been a CaerUSnet member in the 12 years of this company starting. So congratulations.
That's all I wanted to hear, Steve. That's the only reason I joined. Since you said it, it's time for me to go. So see you later.
And that's one of the things I love about you, Rob, is your humor. You've got a great sense of humor. And I'm just excited to have you because, you're at a really interesting point in your business in terms of how your business is evolving. And so let's just take a few steps back a little bit and kind of paint the picture for me just a little bit. You're a chicken farmer today, but you're no stranger to referrals and business groups and networking, and you found your way to CaerUSnet. So maybe you could just kind of paint the picture for us as to how does a chicken farmer find their way to CaerUSnet?
Sure. So to tell that story, we can back up my story as well, and to say that this is not the first farm that I have tried to start. This is about the third iteration of our farm, my family farm that I've worked on and that I'm building currently. And the first iteration, and even the second iteration, we were still doing a good thing. We were the first iteration, we were doing an organic farm. There was no chemicals on the farm whatsoever, and we grew the best vegetables and the best everything. And we tried to do it ourselves, and it didn't work. We couldn't find any customers. We didn't have enough support to keep things going. And so that farm had to close. So then we tried another iteration where we were focusing on raising good food and then making pre-made meals for people to purchase and then take to their homes and cook up, kind of like a Blue Apron sort of idea. And again, we didn't ask for any help and we didn't have any support, and so it failed. This time, we have stepped back and taken a look at our kind of process and have realized that the way to go about starting a business is not by yourself. That's a great way to fail. In any business, whether you're a startup, an existing business, or someone that's been around for a long, long time, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a community around you. You got to have people to help you out, people that are in your corner, because those people know people, and those people have ideas, and those people are supportive and positive. And that's what I was looking for in starting this iteration of our farm. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to CaerUSnet, and I was hooked from the first meeting. Everyone there, Steve is okay, but everyone else there is super positive and supportive. And even before I was a member, everyone was incredibly helpful, going out of their way to get to know me, to connect me to people that they knew, to give me ideas for the business that I had not considered. And so now I'll never try at starting a business by myself again, because I won't need to. CaerUSnet is going to make this business a resounding success. And it's great to have friends around you who are wanting to help you out and who are interested in your success. They want your success. They want you around. It's been a great experience. So I don't see myself quitting anytime soon. And I was just kidding. Steve is great.
So I love what you said. Wendy Caverly, who's somebody like myself, she runs CaerUSnet teams for a living. So I'm somebody that I just get to celebrate in so many different successes because I feel like I'm a part of your business. I want to see you successful. When you're successful, I'm successful. She has a great saying that she she brought out during one of our facilitator meetings, whereas if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that just kind of ties together, the concept of what you were talking about, becoming part of the community and asking for help and getting to know people. So that's very cool. And so tell me a little bit about Heath Farms then. So, we've got members that are going to be watching this video who aren't in the Ann Arbor group, but still are going to be curious about you. And I think a lot of people are very health-minded right now, thinking about what it is that they're putting into their bodies. And so tell us about your farm today and what's your approach? Where are you trying to make a difference?
Sure. So again, we'll go back to tell the beginning of the story. My family have been farmers for, we did the math recently, 140 years. My great grandfather started farming, and our family have been farmers ever since. Up until about the year 2000 or a little after that, we were commercial farmers. We raised corn and soybeans on over 4,000 acres out in Milan, which is just south of Ann Arbor, for those that don't know. And the reason that we aren't doing that now is because my dad and my grandpa, who were running the farm at the time, they both almost died. And they both almost died from chemical exposure. Because as many of us know, the conventional crops that are raised today, the conventional foods that are grown today for mass consumption, are grown and raised with a ton of very dangerous, deadly, awful, terrible chemicals that don't only harm the environment, but they harm the people who come in contact with them. So Roundup is the popular one that people know about. When Roundup was first released, my family farm were one of the ones that were kind of like the initial stage trial of it. And when that happened, they told my dad and my grandpa that Roundup is safe enough that you could drink it if you wanted to. We now know that for you to even come close to it, you need to be wearing a full hazmat suit, and even then you're at risk. So my dad actually has memory of when the Roundup tanks would get clogged up on his tractor. He would stick his arm in the tank and stir it to try to get it to move around. He didn't know any better, but a lot of people didn't, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in now. So my dad and my grandpa almost died. The only thing that saved them was better food, healthy food. So my mom got the idea of, she took my dad to dozens of different doctors and tried a ton of different therapies and medications and all kinds of stuff, and nothing worked. So she thought, well, let's try something else that's just kind of out of left field. Let's raise our own food. So they started a garden, and they got some chickens for meat and for eggs. And lo and behold, a few months later, my dad turned around and started to get better. And he's still not 100%. My dad and my grandpa both still struggle. And in fact, not to get too far into the weeds, but the damage that is done by the chemicals and the genetic modified crops are actually, they adjust your genetic structure, which means that you pass on the damage that you have received to your kids. And so I actually have a very weak immune system. I don't have any autoimmune problems, but any time there's a cold that comes through, I catch it, even though I live very healthy. And it's because I have a genetic disposition to having a weak immune system from the damage that my dad received in being a farmer. And this is true of generation upon generation of farmers. And so realizing the massive effect that healthy food can have on someone's body, on their life, on their health, my parents realized that we got to get this out. People got to have this. And so, as I said, we tried a few different iterations to get that healthy food out to people. This is the latest one, and this is the one that we've gotten the most traction on, had the most support with, and one we're most excited about, which is we raise chickens. Everybody eats chicken. Everybody uses chicken all the time. I certainly do. And a lot of us also know how chicken is typically raised. It's shoved into a dark barn with thousands of other chickens where they fight to not just survive, but to find water and to eat and to breathe and stay on their feet and not get trampled by the thousands of other chickens. It's awful. No one wants to see it. In fact, most big scale chicken farms, they can't be approached within about a 15-mile radius without a respirator because the smell is so overwhelming. It's awful. So that's how most of our chicken is raised. And believe it or not, it ain't too healthy. It's kind of completely devoid of nutrients. It's just a protein that goes into your stomach, and that's it.
You know,
What we do is completely opposite of that. We raise them out on pasture the way that they're supposed to be, and we allow them to get plenty of sunshine, plenty of fresh air. They get the ground to scratch at and look for bugs and eat grass and take dirt baths and hang out with other chickens. And they've got enough space where they can move around to be explorative. They really they're very curious animals, and so we give them opportunity to do that. We let them be chickens the way that they were meant to be. And so that's what we're all about. And that's why I get up every morning, is to make sure we can have more chickens that do that, to make people healthy and give them tasty food.
Yeah, that is wonderful. My wife is really big into healthy and clean eating, and we'll be married 5 years this August. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I've received quite an education. I've watched movies about factory farming, and it's horrific. It really is. Not just with what we can see, the conditions are horrific, but beyond that, think about think about your own life, or any living creature's life. If the creature is feeling free and abundant and has a life, has room to roam, it's going to be, like you like to say, a happy chicken, a happy animal, and it's going to taste better. It's going to have good stuff going on inside of it. If all the animal is feeling is fear from the time it's born until it's harvested at the factory, that's going to be translated right into what it is you're putting into your mouth, and that can't be any good for anybody. It just really can't. It doesn't matter what it costs. They can give it away to you for free. It can't be good for you. There's no way.
Absolutely. There's a simile that I use in a private company, and that is America went to war to end concentration camps, but we aren't doing the same thing for the food that we raise. We should be banging down the doors of all of those concentration camps, all of those factory farms, and liberating those chickens, because they are living in the worst possible living environments, if you can even call them that. And it's our responsibility as human beings to treat the animals that we are connected to better than that, because they are part of this earth just like we are, and we owe it to them just as much as we owe it to anybody else. And so that's why we're around.
I agree. I think that with the technology that we have today and the resources we have today, there should be healthy food grown everywhere. Whether it's animal or vegetables or fruits, there's no reason that there can't be food for everybody in a healthy way. So there's obviously a major disconnect, and hopefully that's something that'll get solved in our lifetimes. You let me know the next time that there's a knocking on the door of those factories. I'll plug my nose and go with you. So tell me about today. Tell me about where you're at today. And as people are listening to this, they might be asking themselves, geez, there's somebody now in CaerUSnet that does chickens. And so tell me about what it is that you offer in terms of a product. When is it typically available? How would people order this kind of stuff from you? And of course, we'll put a link to your website in the YouTube drop down here. But give us some of that information.
Absolutely. So to go not as far back and tell a quick story on that is, you guys may not have heard, but there's this coronavirus thing that's going on. And so our chickens need to be raised outside by people tending to them. And when you can't have people there tending to them, and also can't get supplies because businesses are shut down, it's pretty tough to run a business. So we've actually recently, within the last couple months, have pivoted from what we normally do, which is raising chickens for private consumption, but also to go out to restaurants. We had several restaurants in the Detroit and Ann Arbor area that we were serving, or that were serving our chicken more specifically, that, they're closed now because they're not, or at least they were, and they're not allowed to serve at the time. So we have pivoted, and we are now focusing on a product that we make for ourselves and for our families, but haven't really made for other people until we've learned more about it and the healing properties therein, which is bone broth. Many of us have heard of this stuff. It's a really popular thing that's going around now and has been for the last, well, it's been popular for probably the last 3 or 4 years, but it's been around for thousands as a natural remedy for anything that ails you. In fact, it's believed that the reason that when you think of food you eat when you're sick, that you think of chicken broth or that you think of chicken soup, it's because of bone broth. When you were sick, your mother would make you this hearty broth that's made from cooking chicken bones for a long time with some other ingredients, onions, garlic, salt, pepper, etc., to make it taste good. You sip on that and it cures whatever ails you. And that's no less true now than it was thousands of years ago. And so what we're working on now is expanding our farm to be able to produce bone broth that will be delivered to your door anywhere in the US within 3 days, all business done online. So you just go to our online store, order what you want. In 3 days, it'll be delivered to your house and you can consume it as you will. That's a big deal. There are a lot of other brands that are offering the same kind of delivery to your door, but none of them are actually raising the chickens themselves. About 90% of them buy chicken bones from another producer, and then they make broth out of it. But they have no control over the quality of those chickens or how they were raised. As far as they know, they're the same exact chickens that were raised in one of those concentration camp barns. They take that nastiness and put it in a pot and make something out of it, and you're supposed to drink that. I would recommend you don't. We control the process from when they're little tiny chicks to when you're sipping on the bone broth. And that's really important to us from a quality standpoint, from a health standpoint, from a humane raising of animals standpoint, from an environmental standpoint. All of this goes into these products that we're making, this bone broth. So we are in a crowdfunding situation currently. We're soon to launch our crowdfunding campaign, or at least the next iteration of it. So the way that people can help us out now is to go to that crowdfunding campaign and give as much as you can, as much as you are able to help us launch so that we can start getting this bone broth out to as many people as possible.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So are you going to be collecting, so with the YouTube drop down, we're going to have a link to your website. Are you going to be taking like email requests for, let us know when we can start ordering, or is that part of the crowdfunding? How are you able to keep in touch with folks that are interested in this? Because I would imagine a lot of folks would love to have pasture-raised organic chicken bone broth delivered right to their house. I mean, I know we're going to do that.
Absolutely. Well, for CaerUSnet members, you guys can just, look me up. I'm Rob Heath from Heath Farms Pasture Chickens. Feel free to shoot me an email or send me a text or whatever. For everybody else, if you go to our website, which will be in the drop down, as you said, but it's happy-chickens.com, happychickens.com. And you will be able to subscribe to our newsletter on there, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on, including when our actual launch date is. The best way to access our newsletter is go all the way down to the bottom of the page, and there will be a button there to get an article about the 6 benefits of pasture-raised chickens. And to get that article, you need to join our newsletter. So you can go there, get some really good information on why we do what we do and how you can benefit from it, and then join our newsletter, and we'll keep you up to date on it.
That is so exciting. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to support you. I imagine a lot of great support's going to be coming at you as well too, Rob. And so just one last question as we kind of wrap everything up here. I'm going to kind of dovetail back to just CaerUSnet a little bit. Who was it that told you about CaerUSnet, and what was it that was said to you that made you curious? Because I know you've done other networking things before, and you're out there trying to mix as much as you can, but what was said to you that made you curious? Because I want to be sure all members know that we each have a gift to give to other businesses, and we're shortchanging ourselves and we're shortchanging other businesses by not at least bringing something up to them that they maybe didn't consider before. So Who told you about CaerUSnet? How did that go down?
Yeah, so I was told about CaerUSnet by Patrick Collins from Ipsy Tech Works. And essentially I was in another networking group with him and said, hey, I need more of these. Where should I go? And I almost didn't finish the sentence. He said, CaerUSnet, come check it out. But beyond that, I feel like your question is kind of baiting me a little bit there, Steve. I think you want me to go off about my bad experience with BNI.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that.
No, of course not. Of course not. Well, even though you're not baiting me on it, I'll go ahead and just tell everybody anyway. When I was doing my original farms, the previous iterations of it, I tried to go through BNI. And instead of networking, I ran into bureaucracy. Instead of finding people who wanted to help me expand my business, who wanted to connect me with interested parties, I found people who were more interested in me being the vice president or something like that. Hours and hours of training before I could tell people about my business. So much money, and really just left a sour taste in my mouth. And ironically, I'm in touch with a few people that were in one or two of the BNI groups that I was a part of. None of them are still in those groups. They all left because they just grew beyond what that was able to offer. The experience with CaerUSnet so far, and I'm sure going forward, has been the exact opposite. I almost wasn't able to get my name out when I got in before people were demanding to know about my business and how they can help me. And that was, not only was that great from a business standpoint, but to have so many people who are pulling for you, who are interested in what you have to offer, who want to be there for you and see your business succeed. It's been unreal. And I couldn't recommend it enough. In fact, I've only been a member for a little while, but already I'm inviting as many people as I can because I know that everyone can benefit from this. And I know that whether you realize it or not, this is what you're looking for. Being connected to a group like this is what your business needs. This is what your professional career needs. And really, this is what you need as a human being just out there living life. So I highly recommend. I love CaerUSnet.
Thank you. Yeah, and especially right now, because I think that, the way that the world has gone, being able to have really good interactions with people and deepen relationships and keep relationships trekking, a lot of people have been derailed from that because they haven't been able to go about their business the way they normally would. But as you're well aware, we just switched to the meetings going right online. We run the exact same meeting as though they were in person. And as you can also see, people seem to really be getting value even from the online format. And, so they say with every crisis comes great opportunities. When your back is against the wall is when you really learn what you're made of. It's kind of called forced creativity. And so I'm excited that at least this opportunity has kept everybody together and has even given people who didn't build a network an opportunity to start building it now without really even having to go anywhere, because trust builders happen online like this. And I just think that when you put out the right vibe, you attract the right type of people. And that's probably why you were drawn to this as well too, because you could get a sense of that vibe. And people that have that kind of ability to sense stuff like that, they recognize when they see something that they're not seeing other places. So I think that's probably part of the attraction. Well, that is
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, listen, Rob, I think that we've got what we need for today's interview. For those of you that are watching, stay tuned to the CaerUSnet website because there's going to be more information about Rob and his business and his crowdfunding campaign in the coming weeks. And this video will also be a part of that as well too on the website. So Rob, Heath, we're really looking forward to supporting you, and let's make 2020 that year where clarity came into place and action grabbed hold, and you were able to make traction out of it. So we're glad you're with us, and we'll have to circle back to this about a year from now and do it again, get an update.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone is having kind of a negative view of 2020 so far, and I gotta say it's been one of the best years for me. My business has grown by leaps and bounds, and I've got a lot of great friends who want to see me succeed. So 2020 has been a pretty great year for me so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like we're as limited as we feel that we are. So if you feel like you can't do things, well, maybe you're right. But if you say, you know what can I do? I think that's the best attitude for anybody to have is, what can I do? What can I do? And do those things you can do them extremely well, be brave and fearless, disregard everything you're hearing, and just be safe and smart and fearless. And that's what'll get us through the second half of this year.
Absolutely.
All right, Rob Heath from Heath Farms, looking forward to your CaerUSnet journey, and thanks for your time today on Staying Connected.
Great talking to you, Steve, as always.